Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fabled Storm. I know that I haven't posted anything in a minute, even though I have tons of footage that I need to edit. It's been quite the interesting month trying to get stuff done. I've still been trying to get caught up and it's just been, well, it's been something. But today I thought I'd try a different kind of video because I found this just really interesting and I can't stop thinking about it. So it's just something that's always on my mind and I'm trying to figure out if there's something that can be done here. So if you've seen the title, this is building a PC for around 350 bucks, right? And most of this stuff will be new. Pretty much everything that you need in order to get your PC going and have like a fairly adequate setup with room to upgrade in the future is basically what this is about. And if you like this content and you think you like my gaming content or whatever you're here for, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that I post, and drop a comment below because I'd love to hear what you have to say and your thoughts on this. But recently what I've been thinking about is, can I build a PC? How cheap could I make it, basically? And I'm constantly looking at secondhand sites, looking at eBay and Facebook Marketplace and all sorts of stuff. And of course, if you just wanted to game and you didn't want to do anything cool and you didn't care about having new stuff and you were fine with having, some older generation stuff, you could go and get like a Dell Optiplex and then just slap a video card in there of your choice, whatever it is that you wanted to. Yeah, it's sometimes fun to build your own PC rather than buy one and have it in a case. Now, some people only care about gaming, and so they're just gonna be like, this works for me, slap a video card in there, like, put your GPU in it and put some better RAM in it and maybe up the power if we need that, and done. But for some people, they'd like to build it from scratch, or if you've never built a PC from scratch, it's super fun. And I still do have a video coming for that. It's just a lot of editing, trying to make stuff interesting and make sure it's all right. So bear with me as I work on that. But so today I'm looking at some deals from Micro Center, and this deal in particular has interested me. I'm actually building a PC with these parts, well, some of these parts, this weekend. This is a special deal that Micro Center's been running for a minute, and I don't know if they will still have it. I'm gonna post this tomorrow, so hopefully it'll be the same. The good thing about this CPU is that it also comes with the cooler with it. So the AMD coolers for the Ryzen series are actually really good coolers, and they work perfectly fine. Everything up into about a 5700G can use the stock cooler and will run perfectly fine. Once you start getting to like the higher end Ryzen last gen and the new stuff, you're gonna have to get an aftermarket cooler, something that doesn't come with the OEM parts. So, but with this stuff, you're looking at a third gen Ryzen setup. The 3600 is actually pretty decent. It's about middle of the road. So this is going to be a middle of the road gaming PC. It's not anything super spectacular. I mean, it's not going to be the most fancy, but it will be adequate and let you play stuff, and it's and make a pretty fair computer. So I like the 3600, and then it actually is a bundle with this Gigabyte motherboard. A couple of things that I like about this motherboard, we'll go to this one and zoom it in. What I liked is, since I already own this, down here you have ARGB and RGB lighting setups, so you can actually do your own if you wanted to, which is also something I'm going to be doing. You can download I think it's Asus Armory, something like that, and you'll be able to control your LED lighting if that's something you want to do. I personally like my LED lighting in my PCs, which is why I have the Phanteks case I have. So, and you have some expandability here, so you have the multiple PCIe slots. You could put your graphics card in here, you could run a sound card, pretty much anything you want in there. I don't think it's big enough for you to run two graphics cards together. It might be. You could put a PCIe riser in the second slot for the by 16 and then run it down to something else. So on this motherboard, you could technically like run your graphics card for your main stuff, and then say you wanted to run AV1 encoding on an Intel Arc GPU, which just had a price drop. And I even think that some of the ASRock like A380s go on sale from time to time, and so you'd actually be able to get one of those, and you can run that, and you could have the one graphics card that is able to stream and encode an AV1, and then you'd be able to play on your other card. So that might be a lot for this board to handle, but I mean, theoretically I guess it is possible. So I like that. It has built-in Wi-Fi, which is super neat. And then it's a good bundle. I mean, you're saving only about $56, of course, but for this price to be able to jump into something newer, especially if you have something older. But the 3600 is pretty great. This motherboard will work with it. It's got a warranty. That's the other benefit of having something new, is that you will get a warranty with it. You might have to update your BIOS, but these are all things that you can learn to do, and there are tons of videos. Linus Tech Tips, Jay's 2 Cents, Gamers Nexus, well, maybe the first two, and then like a handful of other people are pretty good about putting videos out for that. But there's tons of stuff online you can find, but that's not everything that you need in order to be able to game and to play everything. If you're gonna make this thing run, you're gonna need memory. So let's go ahead and just go over here to the Team Group DDR4 3200 16 gig, because you could game on 8 gigs, but you're gonna want at least 16 gigs. I run 32 in mine, and honestly I wouldn't mind running 64 if I could find a kit at a decent price. I would definitely do that. But if you're not looking for the super fancy RGB stuff, GeForce makes some pretty good stuff for $41. That's a pretty good deal, and you again get a warranty, and it's got a pretty low latency, and 3200 is going to be perfectly fine. I've run several computers with the 3200 mega transfer, and they work just fine. So I mean, you're talking about, you have your RAM and your motherboard and everything, and you're looking at $170 for that. That's not bad at all. But then you're going to need memory to run your operating system. And so this Inland Professional 512 gig SSD actually had some pretty good ratings from everybody that's used it. I think this is a Micro Center product itself, kind of like their Power Spec stuff, which is a Micro Center brand. I'm pretty sure this Inland Professional is also Micro Center. I say that because I found them on Amazon as well, and it said the seller was Micro Center, not some other third-party person. But the thing that makes this special is they're on sale for $25 instead of $120. Let's be honest, they were never going to be $120. If you pay $120 for a solid state drive that's only half a terabyte, you're dumb. You're crazy. Because if you just wanted a full terabyte for double this price, for like $52 right now, you can buy a Crucial MX 500, which is it's a really great SATA SSD. Now this is SATA, it's not M.2, and they had an M.2 for the same price as this, but it was only half the memory. It was like 256, and I felt like if you're going to be building the PC, instead of adding extra costs where you have to get a hard drive later or a second SSD, since we're trying to build this on the cheap, I want as much space for as little as possible. And so this was really the best way to go. There was really nothing cheaper than this, other than they had a 256 SATA drive like this, and it was only $5 cheaper. And I was like, that's kind of dumb. I had it in my setup originally and thought Nah, I should go with the 512 because the 512 is actually what I bought for the PC that I'll be building. So I figured since that's what I went with personally, that's what I'm going to go with here. So it is a SATA drive again. It would be faster and a little bit better to do an M.2, but if you're trying to do things on a budget, this is a really good option. The reads and writes are actually pretty decent. I don't know if it has a DRAM cache. Again, this is a budget build. This isn't something that like the top of the cream of the crop are getting or whatever. You know, we're not running 3000 or 4000 series stuff here. We're not running high-end GPUs from AMD, that kind of stuff. So sorry if I seem a little ranty. I'm kind of tired, but it's been driving me crazy, so I super wanted to make this video. And then so SATA, and your motherboard is going to come with SATA cables, so you'll be able to connect this thing right up, and then your power supply will run SATA power to it, and boom, you're done. You have all that stuff the way that it needs to be. That'll work out great for you. And then in order to power it, this is the cheapest option that I think is like safe. There's some other non-modular power supplies like this, which I think is perfectly fine. I don't see an issue with it. But 500 watts is pretty much where I would say you don't have to do 500 watts if you are really planning out your build, and your build is basically just like you pick your graphics card and then you say, okay, this is what it recommends for power, and that's what I'm getting. But I know that this Thermaltake Smart Series is actually pretty good. You get a 5-year warranty with it. It's 80 plus, not bronze, not gold, not platinum, any of that stuff. It's just 80 plus, but it does have an 80 plus rating, because you can spend more or maybe slightly less on one from like Amazon that has no 80 plus rating at all. You just don't know. It might burst into flames. It might be efficient. It might not be efficient. You would have no idea by going with it. So it's not one of those things that I would recommend. I try to stick with at least 80 plus stuff. Again, it's non-modular, so everything is connected. You can't disconnect it. You just have to wedge the extra cables back into the PC when you're done, which I don't have a problem with. I've had several PCs like that, and it can save you a little money if you don't care about being modular. One thing that I liked about the new Phanteks case that I have is that it has a ton of extra space, and I was able to actually move like my hard drive carrier, my hard drive's slides over, so that when they were sitting in it, it's not a problem. You need more space if you have a modular power supply, because the way you have to plug it in, they don't bend quite the same. It's not as easy to get stuff around, so that's just a thing. But you do have a 5-year warranty. It's 500 watts. It's 80 plus certified, which is pretty good. So I would say this is your entry level. Again, this is like a mid-tier build. It's gonna let you play tons of stuff and you're not gonna have a problem. And then you need a case to put all that stuff in. So for the case, if you want or you don't want, you can pick whatever case you like. I went with a case that I actually believe would be pretty decent, especially for the money, and it comes with extra stuff. So I know a thing or two about these Montech cases, and they're not the strongest or nicest stuff that's out there, but I have used a Montech Fighter 500, which is a case that I actually really like, and I never had a problem with mine. Mine was sturdy, no problems whatsoever. I like the IO on them. I think that they have pretty good like your buttons set up. I like how they're set up on top. Mine is also like this. The Fighter 500 is slightly different because I don't have any reset buttons, that kind of stuff on the top, but it does have a removable filter on top, your dust filter. You can add fans up here if you want. Sorry, that's the back. I'll just go ahead and here. So you can add fans up here in the top if you want to. There is a place to mount them, but this case actually comes with 3 fans in the front, 1 fan in the back. The Montech Fighter 500 has like a hard cover right here, and then a spot at the bottom. let me go back to the front. So on the Fighter 500, it was actually I think it was cheaper than this case, or around the same price online. This is the cheapest I've been able to find this case, and it was the best one that I thought that they had on Micro Center stuff. If you're trying to be cheap, one, you get some cool lights. If you're okay with this, you cannot change these colors. They are static RGB, which means that they will always be this way. They're also static fans, so as soon as you hit power, they come on, and they run at the RPM that they run at the whole time. It doesn't go up and down. It doesn't change with motherboard power draw, CPU power draw, any of that stuff. So you're not going to have a situation where it's going to adjust with any of your stuff. But the benefit is that if you buy another case, you have to buy fans separate, and fans can be very, very expensive if you want like decent fans and quiet fans. Depends on what you're trying to build, but for the most part, if you're just trying to build an adequate PC, I found that these static fans are better than having no fans, and they save you money because they come with it. They last a pretty decent amount of time. I messed one of mine up because I kept setting stuff on top of the PC, and it would put like pressure on the fan, and that's how I messed up one of my fans. It started making a bunch of noise and racket and spinning funny from the others. But the way that these are mounted, you can't do that. You could set something on top of this and it's not going to hurt anything. But you can replace these fans at any time with better fans. That is also a possibility. But this means that you'll have some pretty adequate cooling. Again, your CPU is not going to get that hot, and your GPU probably won't get that hot, and so these fans will be more than enough to pull and then push the air out and do just fine. Again, if you want to, you can add fans later. They also make a case called the Montech X3, which is designed similar but not quite the same, and it has 6 fans, 2 fans in the top, 1 in the back, 3 in the front, and it has the same color scheme. You can get it in black and white. And I think it's 65 instead of this 56, so it's about $9-10 more, and it ranges, it changes, but I think that the base MSRP for that one's like $75, so or maybe it's 80, but either way, those are good cases. But yeah, so this is the case that I would suggest for being cheap build, good airflow, decent quality. I've never had a problem with them. I like Montech cases. I think they make some pretty good stuff. If you put all those things together in a cart, you're looking at $294 for everything that's in this, and you're probably like, well, where's the GPU? I'm gonna get to that. So that's why I called this a $350-ish build, if we can get there. Once you add tax to this, depending on your area, I did like 7% tax or 8%, something. It depends, I guess, unless you don't have sales tax where you live, which is good for you. That's not a thing that here in Georgia, but yeah. So if you're looking at like 8% or whatever, I think it made it like $318, so $320-ish for this build. And then you just don't have video because this does not have integrated graphics on the 3600. It's unlike Intel, which pretty much puts it on everything. So if you don't have a graphics card, you can do a few things. You can, if you know somebody that has one, and I only bring this up because I do know somebody that has like an extra one laying around, and they were like, if you want it, you can have it. So you could have a friend that has a spare that can give it to you. Your second option would be Facebook Marketplace, and you can make a deal for some. It really depends on what it is, but sometimes you can talk people way down. So I've seen some of what I'm gonna show you on eBay for like $50. You can talk them down. There's a guy that I saw selling like a 1050 Ti. Not the best graphics card, not the worst graphics card, sort of mid-tier and an okay card, I guess. I mean, it's what's in my laptop, and my laptop has played everything I wanted it to besides The Witcher. Now, it did work hard to play some of them, but it did play them at 1080p at like 60 frames a second, especially for single player stuff, just fine. And then your online sort of like your, you know, pro gamer stuff is real cheap anyway, so that's not a big deal. Or your pro gamer stuff is high frame rate anyway on a potato, so it doesn't take a lot to get frames in like CS:GO and stuff like that. So your third option would be something like eBay. I mean, you guess you could try Amazon and get something used, but your best deals are going to be eBay. And what you can do is you can go to eBay and you can look up an item and you can try to wait to bid on it. But sometimes you get lucky and you find stuff like this. So this is GTX 1060 3GB modified fan. So they're in Canada, and I believe they were like mining units. And so this person's selling them for $30 a piece, plus $11 shipping to the US. And it might take you a second to get here, but you get a fully functional 1060 3GB, which is a pretty middle of the road card. I mean, it and the like the RX 580 run neck and neck with each other, both very decent cards. The 6 gig of course is a little bit better. It's the 6 gig over the 3 gig, but the 3 gig is actually pretty great. And sometimes you can find people selling them out of like OEM units like HPs and Dells and stuff that had them in there, and they're not the prettiest. I mean, they're not super cool looking cards, but they are usable cards. So for $40 here, and then, you know, whatever your taxes are, again, if you have to pay it, if you don't have to pay it, so let's say $45, you can throw that on there. And so I guess it's more like a $370 PC. Now you can always change this setup, find stuff at cheaper prices, and in fact, if you're willing to do eBay or even Facebook Marketplace, you can find stuff cheaper. I found several people selling modular power supplies, or not modular, excuse me, non-modular, like 500 watt power supplies that came from decent places. There was somebody selling a Power Spec, which is Micro Center's own brand of power supply, for like $25. Sometimes you can get really lucky and you can get somebody that's selling like a whole old PC that's just, it has a power supply and it's an okay looking case that you're fine with, you think looks pretty good, but like everything else is sort of old and needs to be upgraded. And then you could just buy that, throw the old stuff, or sell it. Those are always options. This is an option. The GTX 1063 gig is actually, I think, a pretty good middle of the road graphics card for your basic gaming. And so I think this build is for around, give or take, 350 to 370, depending on how you get all your parts and where you buy your stuff from. I think it's a pretty good deal. I mean, there are ways to cut costs. You could go cheaper, a lot of secondhand stuff. Again, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, if you're willing to bid on things and go that route, you can save a lot of money. This is just thoughts and ideas that have been on my mind. I've really wanted to build some more computers lately, so I constantly am looking at options for ways to build stuff. And I wish I had people to build PCs for. It would be super fun, and some people would like low budget or infinite budget, and I would try to do the best that I could to make those things. That challenge is really interesting to me, but these are just some ideas. If you want to do that, if you don't, you could go and buy, I guess, a game console, but this will play a lot more stuff, give you options from like both consoles, since you can get Game Pass Ultimate and it has a lot of PC options. The PC stuff is very similar to what you'd have on console, so you know, the PC might be the better way to go. But if you like this content, or you found any sort of use out of it, you thought it was interesting, or maybe I just bored the hell out of you, I don't know, but if you like it, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video, legends. Peace.